Hey, welcome to another episode of the Black Guy Who Tells podcast. I'm your host, Rod, joined as always by my co-host,
Karen.
and we are back for a Kwanzaa edition of the podcast. Merry Christmas to everybody that celebrated that. Hope you had happy visiting your family if that's something you did or whatever you did. I hope you had a good time doing it, whatever it was.
If you just was like, I got the day off work and they paid me for it.
Yeah, whatever you did, that's dope. We had dinner. Our tradition continues, our ethnic dinner with my parents. This year it was Japanese. Last year was Mexican. We would have did Mexican again, but the place was closed when we went. But we had a good time. Everybody is enjoying this tradition because my mom doesn't have to cook. No one has to come over to the house.
Right. We tip really, really well. And like, you know what? Ain't nobody cooking, no dishes, ain't nobody got to clean up. Everybody got to just go home and enjoy the rest of the day.
It was fun. Had a good time, and then watched a lot of basketball, some football, because football is now trying to take over Christmas.
Right. And not trying to be funny, I love football too, but I'm like, boo, this is NBA day. Why y'all sneaking in the back door?
It doesn't bother me because the way I look at it is now I got something that when I change the channel, it's something else to watch.
That's true.
You play video games all day anyway, so you didn't watch any of it. So I don't know why you booing. I actually watched a lot of the games, and it was good. It was great sports TV. Although I'm a little worried about how much ESPN is in bed with gambling now. They have a app and they do commercials for it called ESPN Bet.
What?
And I'm like, we must be like 6 months to a year away from somebody getting suspended or fired.
Yes.
Because somebody on the airwaves is definitely going to bet on games. And I've already read an article that said that telling people that work for, on the air personalities and stuff not to bet on games and stuff. But I don't know, man. It's like that could get slippery real easy because how media talks about things influences the lines on games. Because it's all about confidence. It's Dallas is gonna win by 14, but if Stephen A. Smith talks too good about them, they might change things or whatever. And then also you have these people on ESPN that do like breaking news, injury report, inside information. What if somebody knows through talking to one of these people, or it is one of these people, when somebody knows like, oh, so-and-so's not playing tonight, even though it looks like he's playing, and then they put in a large bet or something. I just think it could go wrong so many ways, but man, they're fully in bed with gambling.
Yeah, and it's also one of those things where it speaks volumes. They're in a really bad need for money. Because why else would they do something like this other than they need a huge influx of money?
Yeah, all these streaming services and lack of cable and all that. Yeah.
And then B is one of these things where you look at it and the people have gotten in trouble that actually play the sport for gambling. So you're talking to somebody that don't physically play the sport and telling them not to gamble on something. And like you said, it's always been a mixed bag. It's the reason why they had those hard lines on, gambling, what you can gamble on. Like it's the reason why. But now all these lines are getting blurred once you have these big corporations dip their toes in. And my thing is, if they're going to dip their toes in, they don't need their own betting thing. It needs to be something where, hey, we leave that to other people. We keep it cute. We let y'all, pick your teams, pick six or whatever live on the air, and we leave it like that. But once you get into it yourself, they're going to have to actually put down really hard rules and actually come out with harsh punishments.
Yeah, I'm just waiting to see who's the first person punished, because I just feel like it's going to have to happen.
Yes.
And people, on Twitter when I brought it up were like, well, people know the rules. I'm like, well, athletes know the rules, and they still have 2 to 3 suspensions a season at least for people that gamble. Keep in mind, gambling can be addictive, and it's about risk versus reward. So you're not necessarily talking to people that are 100% on the like, oh yeah, of course I'm making a very conscious decision. That like they might be addicted to gambling and be like, yeah, fuck it, I'm risking my job to make to make some money.
Right. And it's going to be, and you're asking them to police themselves, and that's going to be low. And it's going to be one of those things where if shit like this get out of control, depends on who's in the Congress and Senate and shit like that. I can see them passing laws going, hey, don't do this. We're gonna make a law. You can't do this. Because if you're asking them to police themselves, and a lot of times when they police themselves, they don't do a good job.
Also, Trader Joe's has a barbecue spatchcock chicken that you can get. No one told me about it, and so I know how the rest of y'all are. You're gonna be like, oh, I got this Trader Joe's spatchcock chicken and nobody told me about it. Well, I'm telling you about it because I wish somebody had told me. And it's barbecue. All you gotta do is put it in the oven at 400 degrees, baste it like 30 minutes into the cooking cycle, and I used the thermometer so I could make sure it was exactly done when I wanted it to be done. But then you cook it like another 25 minutes or so, and when it's done, it's straight up nice.
It was outstanding,
tender barbecue chicken. So there you go.
And shred. Oh, so good.
All right, but that's not what we came to talk about. Honestly, we almost didn't do a show today because we both were just chilling and laying around and not doing stuff. But there's been a topic that has lasted so long, we can still talk about it. It happened literally a week ago.
Yes, it
did. When we took our break or whatever. And I'm like, this probably would be old news by the time, but every day it kept persistent. And I want to say, honestly, unless something tops it with 5 days ago in the year, I think it's the gender war of the year.
We're going to war. The gender war. There's a war going on outside. Gender war. There's a war going on outside. Gender war.
Oh, shit. If you saw the show art, you already know what it is. If you didn't see the show art, then on the Crowdcast, then you'll be like, oh, for real. But yeah, so it's Simone Biles' husband, Jonathan Owens, and that's the way we're always going to end up saying it because it's Simone Biles is Simone Biles, and no offense to Jonathan Owens, he seems like a nice guy that has really overcome a lot to be an NFL player. But
that's how people are going to know you as. It's not personal towards you, but that's normally how it goes. Particularly, your spouse. They go, you're the husband or the wife or the significant other of such and such.
So here at Gender Wars, we typically do not participate in the actual discussion generated by the Gender Wars. Typically, we just rate the content. But I think this one is so special, we should participate a little bit. I'm not saying we need to fight, but just to give our thoughts on it, because I have a lot of thoughts. Of thoughts. I've been talking to my friends about it in private. I've been staying off of social media talking about it really because, no offense, but some of y'all have lost your motherfucking minds.
Yes, y'all have.
It's honestly, it's the amount of projection people are doing. Shout out to my girl Nichelle, who we went to college with. I think she encapsulated it best on my Facebook page. She said, it's a lot of me search versus research.
Yes.
And I said, damn, that's a bar. That is a fuck. Yes. I don't know if that people say that all the time, but yes, it's definitely it's people being triggered by their own history and just men in general and stuff and relationships they've been in, and versus what the people living it are telling you, what the rest of the context of the interview and stuff would give you and all this stuff. So I guess the best way to start is to play the clip, and then I'll go back and try to set up some of the players in the clip, because I feel like for a lot of y'all, this is how y'all got introduced to some of this stuff, and y'all don't it depends on who you are, but like Ryan Clark, we've been talking about him about sports for a long time. I think he's a pretty stand-up dude, to be honest with y'all. Jonathan Owens and Simone Biles, we've been covering them dating and getting married on the Balls Deep Sports Behind the Paywall.
We did, and we even talked about how a lot of people was trying to shade her for her edges and shit like that. And it's just been crazy.
Her and Gabby Douglas too. And one of the things I'm noticing with this discussion is people saying stuff that I haven't found to be true. Like one thing was like, white people were always talking bad about her edges. I was like, no,
that was us.
It was black people, and it was a lot of black women too. Like, this wasn't the misogynoir that came from outside the house. It was a call from inside the house. But whether it wasn't like all black women. It was a heated fight, but it was a lot of black women being like feeling some respectability type shit about her hair on the national stage, despite what she was trying to accomplish. Now, like I said, I felt like that was more Gabby than Simone, but I'm sure Simone caught some too.
Yes, and also the thing about it, that not trying funny, that's us. White people don't be talking about the edges. Like you talk to a lot of white people.
Yeah, they don't know.
Yeah, they might not even know what it is.
But that tells you a lot about the conversation right now, because everyone's lining up to either be like the victim and we're standing up for this victim, or it's the bully, as opposed to like, you're the bad guy, I'm the good guy. And I think there's a lot of in between in these conversations that doesn't need to take on that type of hyperbolic rhetoric.
And also the thing is, and this is what really frustrates me, it's particularly the Edge thing a few summers ago. It was very sad for me, because that was us, and we can't blame that on nobody else. And then as it's like, and like you say, mostly come from women. Because in a lot of things, a lot of black women deal with.
And for the record, it wasn't just during the Olympics.
Oh no,
black women were talking shit about her hair when she got married.
Yes,
there's an article from Allura.
Yes.
Simone Biles doesn't owe you laid edges, perfectly straight hair, anything else. This from Gabby Thorne. This is April 25th of this year. Yes. After she posted pictures from her wedding, Twitter put all the focus on her hair. But as the great Jill Scott once saying, maybe we could just be silent. And it just goes into how people were talking shit about her hair in her fucking wedding photos. This is not like I said, it's a lot of people throwing rocks and hiding their hands.
Yes, it is. And like I was saying, as somebody who has been around a lot of black women and has talked about a lot of black women and our hair and the stigma on our hair and the pressure we put on our hair and how we have a tendency to criticize and tear down black women and particularly black female children when their hair is imperfect. Blue Ivy is a prime example of that shit. It's very sad. And knowing that black women have a high probability of breakage and hair damage and alopecia than almost any other group. It affects other groups, but it affects us at a higher rate.
It's just that Twitter and social media are just not, they are places that are prone to the negative. It's the reason that everyone cheered Will Smith slapping Chris Rock as if it was really about alopecia and black women's hair.
Right.
But it's really about supporting the violence of it. It's why they share. Anyway, not to get off, we're already off topic. I want to play this clip first. But yeah, that's one of the things about Simone Biles is she's been under the focus and pressure of a lot of stuff. And honestly, I'll get to it later, but I think a lot of this is insecurity around how people feel about Simone Biles. That doesn't indicate she feels that way about herself at fucking all.
Right.
And every indication she's given is that she doesn't walk around that way. But let's play the clip first. So the Pivot is a podcast hosted by Ryan Clark and I think Channing something. I forget the other dude's name. Something Crowder. The dude that called Russell Wilson a cornball, or some shit like that. Anyway, so this podcast, let me just, it's irreverent. It's very much, it's not. I wouldn't say it's like aggressively like some man bashing, like woman bashing shit. I wouldn't say that. It's actually pretty like, it's guy talk. And I don't mean that in the negative connotation most people think, like locker room talk or whatever. I mean in like, this is how dudes talk. And then also they happen to be quote unquote good dudes that talk about therapy and overcoming obstacles and love and sex and relationships. And they make a lot of jokes and it's very much like athletes, but not in the way of like how can we just down somebody so bad? But often they have guests on, and when it gets to topics of relationships and stuff like that, they make a lot of jokes. One of the dudes, when they had Kevin Hart on, there's a viral clip of them talking about dudes talking about like kind of being a swinger and all this shit. So like it's not necessarily a structured conversation that is in a journalistic feeling. It's more of a comrade feeling. Like we fellas, we hanging out, we are athletes, and we just shooting the shit. I say that because to set up this question, because I think the first thing that's missing from the context of the whole conversation, the question is set up as a joke. Okay, so the question already starts with some nice, beautiful colorism. Even though Jonathan Owens isn't even that light skinned, but they say like, "How the pretty red thing like you pull Simone Biles?" So already it's set up coming off as get like we're fucking with you, we're making a joke, and then you get this answer from him.
You feel like every step of the way, you know, like the moment.
Honestly, don't get into no long shit, bro. I gotta ask you, man. God damn, y'all boys scared, bro. As us pretty red dimes as we are, how in the hell did you pull Simone Biles?
Now that's Crowder, and like I said, he's a kind of a jokester guy. Already the joke, you know, me and Justin make jokes about him being light skinned and shit. I think like once again, it's very informal. It's very
Right.
supposed to be among friends. This is a huge part that is missing from this conversation. And it's the difference between something going on social media versus something happening in the room. In that room, everyone's comfortable, they're laughing. They cut to Simone, she's laughing.
Right.
That's the dynamic of it, possibly of their relationship. That's the dynamic of the friendship these guys all have. But and like I said, the question is even funny. But once you take that out, the internet's not your friends. Yeah, keep in mind the Pivot shared this officially on their Twitter and social medias. So this wasn't discovered. This wasn't like someone took this part of the podcast that no one had thought about and said, "Hey, this is problematic." They put it out to be like, "This is funny. We all want to know," because no offense to Jonathan, but we don't know you like that. So all of us thought the same thing when he got with Simone Biles, which was, who the fuck is he and how he do that? Like, it's the, you know, it's when you see somebody dating Lupita Nyong'o or somebody, you're like, how, what? And it's like a genuine joke. Now, I think what's really going to be uncomfortable for people is that he kind of told the truth, as opposed to like some sort of
sweeten it up.
Instead of like, I don't think what he said was necessarily mean in any way, unless you purposely are like, he should just lie or downplay what happened. And they have like a playful dispute over it too. But anyway, so just peep the setup to the question before you even get on like, why was he coming out with the answer like that? They set the question up like that.
And I love this football talk, bro. I gotta get to it. I'm over here rubbing my knees trying to.
Hey, Chad, I wanted to tell him, he's talking about being looked over. Now, when the right people look at you.
That's
You know what I'm saying?
How did you do that, bro?
Man, it's you really how she pulled me, man. That's the question.
Oh,
man.
Lord Jesus. Now you with Freddie. Now it's back. Now
But
you
listen,
with
I'm
Chad.
gonna tell you organic story, man. So I just got to Houston. I probably have been in Houston 7 months. I was single at the time, you know, so I'm just living, being me and myself. And COVID had just hit. But I had just went to Arizona, and one of my boys are like, "Hey man, you gotta check out this app, you know." And I'm like, "Nah, I'll check it out." Like, what is it? It was called Raya at the time. So basically it's like a dating app, but you know, you have to go through certain like criteria to make sure that you're who you are. So literally have been on the app for a couple of days, man, and it's like she pops up and I'm like, let me see who this is. Gymnastics. I ain't never, you know, I never really paid attention to gymnastics. So if people
Now, I'm gonna stop right there because people went and found his tweets from 2000, I want to say 13, maybe.
Boy, they're digging in the archives.
10
years ago.
2013 or 15. I can't remember the exact days, but he is, I believe, 28 years old
Now.
Okay. If you go back to 2000 and whatever it was, like let's say it's 2015 or something like that, that would be
Just over 21?
That would
No, a teenager.
That would make him somewhere between like 16, 17 years old or something.
Mm-hmm.
He has tweets about Gabby Douglas being in the gymnastics in the Olympics, but nothing to me that specifically states that he was a huge gymnastics fan. Only that when she was a trending topic on Twitter that time, he had got some tweets off about it.
A lot of people do that and they don't know shit about the sports.
And they honestly, they sound like young people, like a
Mhm.
teenage dude's tweets. Like it
Yes.
didn't, like people have been using it as a gotcha moment. Like, well, he knew who Gabby was, so clearly he should know who Simone
And
was.
that's not always
And clearly
true.
he's lying about not knowing Simone's gymnastics prowess and all this stuff.
And that's not true because at the time, Gabby was like she was the gold standard. So
Right.
a lot of people knew her. Even if I know, even me, you might not know nobody else on the team at that time.
Yeah, and also like he was a teenager,
right?
Like he literally could have been checking it out because it was hot that day, that summer, or whatever, and then not been an actual gymnastics person. That happens all the time.
Particularly
Most of the people, most people I know are casual Olympics fans,
Yeah.
meaning every 4 years someone pops up and you kind of pay attention, but it's not necessarily this make or break thing. You know I'm definitely a person that's a casual Olympics person at best. But anyway, the point being, this is where a large departure happens. People start feeling in this moment he's lying. So if you think he's lying, the rest of this clip is going to just be, confirmation that there's nothing he can say at this point that will make you be like, this story is true. So I've noticed that being an off ramp. So I want to point that out right now. Okay.
It's like a dating app, but you have to go through certain like criteria to make sure that you're who you are. So literally have been on the app for a couple of days, man, and it's like she pops up and I'm like, let me see who this is. Gymnastics. I ain't never, I never really paid attention to gymnastics, so it piqued my curiosity, So I'm like, okay, I'll see what's up. I swiped her and it said we matched, so I'm just like, okay, so I'm gonna see what's up. So I go do my workout and I come back. And I get I had some likes on my Instagram, and I'm like,
they cut to her smiling super hard, by the way, rolling her eyes a little bit.
I'm like, oh, this might be. I'm like, okay. So I see what's up, and then I still waited. I'm like, man, I'm gonna wait till I, take a shower and everything. Then I come back to my phone, and then she messages me on the app like, hey, you know what I mean? And man, this gotta be fake. Like, I don't know, I didn't know who she was at the time, but the first thing that I saw was that she just had a bunch of followers. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, she got to be good. I promise you, I'm real.
Ryan Clark is all of us, because the first time I saw this clip too, I went, how the fuck does anyone not know who Simone Biles is? I know I had the thought, because she's such a household name. She's literally the greatest gymnast of all time at this point. So even though this would have been 3 or 4, this would have been probably 4 years ago, because he said during the start of COVID, right? So three, maybe 4 years ago. But still, 3 years ago, it would have been 3 years ago. But still, I know I had the thought. That's the reason they shared this clip, is because we all have the same thought, which is, nigga, you don't know who Simone Biles is. Come on. But that doesn't mean it's not true.
Right.
You know what I mean? You listen to this podcast every day, and we don't know a lot of people.
Chad, we got a whole section called who? Because I don't be knowing no goddamn body.
And if you did a podcast, you listen to the sound of our voice right now, there's gonna be some very popular people that you eventually will have I don't know that motherfucker moment.
Yeah, they might be big on TikTok or Instagram or YouTube, but I don't know who the hell they are.
The other thing he mentioned too was when he said he thought it was fake. He's not talking about I thought it was fake because I know who Simone Biles is. He's like, here's this pretty woman messaging me, chasing me on the app. That most men will tell you their experience on dating apps is not that.
Right.
So here's this woman messaging me. I go to look her up. She's got 1.something million followers. Clearly this is a fake. Somebody has gotten through and fucked with the algorithm. Somehow they fucked with it and they got a fake person on here. But yeah, Ryan Clark is me, and I think everybody in that. The first time I hear this story, I'm like, nigga, what?
Life story. When she won the Olympics, I was in college and we didn't have NBC, we didn't have Olympic channels, and we're in camp. Late July, early August, so I'm not paying attention.
And I can see that being a true statement. He's like, I'm out here trying to work out and shit. I already told you from the beginning, I'm not a huge gymnastic fan. I don't follow the shit. And
I guess the other thing too, my default isn't he's trying to get one over on us and her and everybody. It's like, this is kind of like, he was kind of oblivious. It reminds me of, how we first started dating, and we always tell that story of how you came to the house and you asked me out and I said no because I didn't know what the fuck to even say. I was, and then my friends picked on me, and then I was like, oh my God, am I fucking this up? And I rush and take a shower and we go out. People think that story is so adorable and so cute. The different, and I'll get to why I think there's a big difference here. And it's not him, in my opinion, in that way. We don't know him. They don't do a podcast with thousands of hours together for people to be like, no,
right.
Clearly they still love each other, and that's just a cute story.
Correct.
So people are assuming the worst, but I'll get to that in a second.
So I never would have had a moment to where I would have watched, like,
Jonathan, I'm gonna let you finish your story, man. Continue.
But like I was saying, man, she messaged me. This is like a Tuesday, and
she's smiling, like co-signing I messaged him. Big ass wedding ring in our face too. Big ass,
come on,
blinging all in our face.
Come on, I'm a blind y'all with this rock.
Just all in our grill.
We texted back and forth, and then we hung out Friday, man. And we couldn't do much as COVID happened. Everything was shut down, so. She came through down to Houston. She lived in the suburbs, so she had to drive about 45 minutes to me. Then the rest is history, man. So
you was really the catch in.
I always say the men are catch, man. I always say we the catch, man.
Yeah.
Now, see, that is also, once again, if you think he's been lying this whole time, now you think he's like secretly Andrew Tate type nigga. He hates women and he thinks men are the real catch and women ain't shit, and he needs to downplay her career and all this stuff because it's the only way for him to feel good in front of all these men. If, I just want to give the most cynical take because that's what a lot of people are arguing about. And like I said, it didn't just stop after a day. It's still going, basically, I had to tell somebody on my Facebook page, like, hey, don't come at me about this because I'm not even participating in this shit.
Right.
Like, I asked the question, like, how old would he have been when these tweets were out? Because people were like, see, proof, he's lying. And I'm like, so you're saying like a 17-year-old, 16-year-old must have known that who the next people in the Olympics would be, even though he's never tweeted about the Olympics or gymnastics again the rest of his time on Twitter. It turned into like a why are you reaching to save him? I said, hey, calm down, because I'm not doing that.
Right.
And if your argument can't even stand someone asking for clarification,
then something's wrong with
there's
your
a type
argument.
of insecurity around the discussion that got nothing to do with me.
Right.
But yeah, back to, or you just been arguing so long with so many fucking people.
Yes.
You're ready to fight, even though somebody isn't trying to fight you. But yeah, I think when he said this, I took this as probably tongue in cheek. This, I always say we the man, we the prize, ha ha ha, because we're not, or whatever. You know what I mean? Or could be his experience as an athlete, da 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 da.
Right.
That he is the prize because their world is different than the average dating world.
Yes, it is.
Considering, I mean, we had so many stories, Zion Williamson and we've had a lot of stories, Anthony Edwards recently, where the pursuit of these dudes and what people want from them is not the same as the average dude working at, Subway and shit.
Yeah, so she really booked you.
She did, though.
Is what you're saying.
I was fighting it. So in truth, if I say this out loud, was Jonathan Owens ain't really want Simone Biles. Is what you're saying. At the time, I'm not gonna say that.
That's what you're saying.
I was afraid. I was afraid to commit. I'm like,
So he's pushing back on that, but keep in mind, this is kind of what people took from it, regardless of the fact that when Ryan said that out loud, like, oh, so you trying to say you didn't even want her? He's like, I'm not saying that,
right?
So so it's interesting that people still took from it. Some he directly corrected is like, that's not what I'm saying.
I'm not gonna say that.
That's what you're saying.
I was afraid. I was afraid to commit. I'm like, man, this is my third year. I'm trying to. I'm like, it's kind of early. But like I said, man, it happened when you least expect it, and we hung out, man. It was like we hit it off instantly. We just laughed the whole night.
So here's what's important about that last part. You're talking about, and you have to listen to the podcast, which most people didn't.
Oh no, they're not going to.
I wouldn't listen to it. I did because I wanted to know. I didn't just want to go off of what Twitter tells me. I think too many people do that, and I think we're worse off for it. And I don't think anything is served by those. And I think that's why the conversations become about projection, because what more information does, it stops allowing you to project onto it.
Yes, and people love projecting. So all of a sudden they can't do that.
Because once you see more information, you know exactly what they mean and what was said. So you can't just be like, well, it could mean this. Well, they said it didn't if you just keep listening. So I wouldn't listen to it. But most people won't, right? And so one of the things there is this guy went from undrafted rookie to being cut by a couple of teams, overcoming an injury to I think his Achilles or something, or ACL or something. I think it was Achilles. Fighting his way from the practice squad back into the NFL to where now he is a legitimate NFL starter on defense, playmaking guy. Okay. That's his journey. And so he put in all this work. He was broke, by the way. So there's some things in this interview that if you throw it in the context that he was broke, changes a lot. Like, she drove 45 minutes to come see him for their first date. He ain't have a car.
That makes sense.
He was broke. She's fucking Simone Biles.
Right.
like
she don't do nothing she don't want to do.
Right.
So obviously
but it's just
she wanted to come over there.
Right. But it's just, when they first started dating, he wasn't like that. And also, as a dude that had reaped the benefits of all this work, and people say this all the time, they marvel at me and you. There's people that say this about me and you, but would not say it about themselves, which is like, wow, y'all got married young. Why y'all okay? And then you listen to most advice. Don't get married young. Play the field. Know some people. This man was like 23, 24, going into the prime of his NFL career for the first time, about to beat somebody.
Right.
And was legitimately, I think almost every man or woman at that age who's about to be, somebody with some money and some fame is probably thinking the same shit, which is like, oh my God, I'm going to be on these hoes. And I mean that gender neutral.
Yes, the hoes. If you a hoe, that they gonna be on them.
So that's extremely fucking common. I'm not even sure. And then you look at him, he's a beautiful man, very attractive man. I know plenty of people was trying to get with him. He hops on this app within a few days. Simone Biles hollers at him. Yeah, he had to think about it. It was a decision. Is this even real? What's happening? Blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so I just think the vilification of this has gotten out of control, because it's a very reasonable point of view. Is what we're looking at is the security of two people that have made it thus far, that are happy together, so they can laugh about it. If you're insecure about your status or their status or her status,
right?
Coming back to that, if you're insecure about it, you can't laugh. It's serious to you. He might as well got up there and said, "Fuck this bitch. I hate her. She ain't shit. She can't, whatever." And
but that's what you're hearing, regardless of what was said.
Right. Now I'll get into the rest of the thing, but the podcast, because I think you need like more context to it. But so people were treating this clip as if it was the worst thing on earth, and I do think everyone kind of got played, because who put this clip out? The Pivot.
Right, because they want you to come and listen to their podcast and click on their YouTubes.
It's Shannon Sharp putting out the Kirk Franklin clip. It's what we talk about on here. Gender Wars content score is 10 out of 10.
It's about content.
But the score is a 10 out of 10 is what I'm saying. Like,
yes. A 10 out of 10 for this too, yes.
Yeah, it's amazing. Because it also gave everybody involved a chance to follow up, because the outrage was so much, and you got Simone Biles defending herself and her man. You got Ryan Clark coming out later being like, "Hey, We don't do what y'all are trying to say we do, blah,
we
blah,
ain't
blah.
trying to do no gotcha shit. We just
Right.
having a conversation.
So it's amazing. It's amazing content in that way. And so, like I said, I did go listen to the rest of the podcast, but I want to say something about Simone Biles real quick too. And this is what there's two things that I want to say. The first one, I think, even if it's with good intentions, a lot of people are operating with a level of pity towards her or something. And I think it's been that way for a while. You know, we know she's one of the gymnasts that survived that doctor who got killed in prison at Michigan State. We know that. We know how people have talked bad about her hair and her appearance.
Right.
With all kinds of jokes. We know she also went through that through when she had that mental health issue when she was trying to be in the Olympics, and she got the twisties and she just couldn't perform. So I think, and she's a black woman in the spotlight representing America and everything that comes with it. So we have always held a level of like protection around her, I think, for those of us that do know her and her work. And that has stripped her of her own agency and autonomy. And she's become more of a symbol than a person to most folks. So when they were going on her Instagram telling her to divorce him, this is a red flag, he doesn't love you, this is abuse, she clapped back, as people typically would do when you talk about their spouse like that, and they don't fucking agree.
Right. I don't know what about that. People don't motherfucking understand.
Like, she's there 24/7, 365. You're there for 2 minutes of a podcast you couldn't be bothered to go finish listening to.
Right.
You're there because you've been on Twitter fighting back and forth with ashy niggas all day. This is so fucking different. And then when people fucking like, when she clapped back at them, they start being on some like, we doing this for you. You know how they do.
Right.
Which is always weird.
Right. No, you do this for yourself. This is not about me, because this is not even my wishes.
We don't know each other.
Right.
So you're not really doing anything for me. It's for you. Whatever that means for you and your social media is what you're doing this for. So she clapped back, and she's kind of, you know, said a little funny stuff the last couple of days about it. Kind of waiting on people to move on. But I saw people try to paint themselves as the victims. Like, I can't believe she came at me like this, knowing she got all these followers.
Yeah, they love that bullshit. Kiss my ass. They're human beings. They are human beings. Celebrities are human beings, y'all. And for some reason, people think they can just do anything and say anything and come at them all crazy and shit. And then when they do respond back, all of a sudden you're the goddamn victim, but you're the one attacking them.
And keep in mind, they're also saying nasty shit after, you know, when she basically says like, are y'all done yet or whatever? They're like, yeah, well, when y'all get divorced, remember I told you, you know, like they're hoping for this relationship to fail, which, let's be honest, most relationships are going to fail at some point. So they act like we discovered something when really it could be anything. But, you know, and maybe they'll be, but they're looking at like, I will be proven right by whatever happens and when you're in your marriage that I'm now rooting against. Which the audacity of rooting for and against a stranger's relationship is crazy as fuck.
That's
weird.
Culture.
Yeah, that's already really fucking insane.
But a lot of people are in that to that shit.
Yeah. You know, they recently celebrated their first Christmas together, married, and posted it on their Instagram and all that stuff. You know, both Biles and Owens laughed off the backlash, unbothered, smiley face, heart emoji. He wrote on Friday, just know we locked in over here. She put the fingers crossed kiss emoji for life. Another one, she put, are y'all done yet, with a meme on Twitter. So, you know, they seem to be like, look, y'all took this shit out of context and no, it's not what y'all think. Okay. So here's the other thing that I haven't heard anybody say yet. And I was telling Bossy about this, and she was like, "You got to say that." And I was like, I was, I was like, I don't want to say it on Twitter because I just don't think it's a good environment
not
to
a
have a discussion.
Yeah, regardless of what it is, it's not. Yeah.
Yeah, but I can say it here, and I think it maybe people will understand here, but she's Simone fucking Biles.
Right.
She does not look at this the way you look at this, of like this idea of like this man should have been chasing me, blah blah blah. She looks at it like the way she look at gold medals. She's like, I achieved this. I saw this bad nigga.
That's what I wanted.
Was coming into his own. That was thought he was fitting to like go out and be, you know, just out here where the hoes at and being beautiful on Instagram and all this shit. And I said, I'm Simone Biles. And keep in mind, to her, it's a badge of honor. He didn't even really fucking know who I was. I still pulled this nigga. That's how she approaches it, I believe, from just the way she's smiling and the way they told the rest of her story. Because if you listen to the podcast, and the flex wasn't in this meet cute shit. The flex was in when they started going out. And then they would go out places and people would be like, stranger man, can you take this picture of me and Simone Biles?
Right, yes, because they was like, I don't know who you is, but you need to take a picture of me and her.
And that's why, that's a major reason.
You're the photographer now.
That's a major reason you should listen to or watch the podcast in its complete thing, because no offense,
she became an Instagram boyfriend, didn't even know it.
I count myself amongst the people I'm talking about when I say this. I count myself amongst the bitches in this when I say bitches.
No.
The rest of us bitches could never. We would never be what Simone Biles was able to just be like, it's fine. You know, like she was like, most people would have been like, I don't know, I feel like I'm doing too much. He not showing me enough interest. I'm out. She was on some like, it'll be fine. Like one of the things he messaged her when they first started talking on the app was, okay, so you're a gymnast. Who do you compete against? And her answer was, myself.
Come on, myself.
And he was like, no, but like, who's your competition? And she was like, I'm the best in the world. People say I only compete against myself. I'm like, yeah, I think what y'all are painting her in and I get it, because like I said, it's been a lot of stuff that she publicly went through and we felt this need to protect her. So in our minds, we're painting her as, wow, man, he didn't see her value, when really she's like, I know I'm valuable.
Yes.
It's not about him pursuing me at the beginning of dating is not the prize that you think it is. At least that's my interpretation as I project. You know, that from what I listened to, it felt more like she was doing that. Another thing that came up was they talked about how they had therapy together. She got him into therapy. How she got him to go see a sport. He ended up going to see a sports psychologist, and not because she made him do any of it, by the way, or even asked him to. He just saw she's the best in the world and started being like, what do you do?
Yes, I need to step my game up, right?
One of my favorite parts of the podcast, when they're talking about their relationship, and he talks about how he supported her through when she had the twisties and all that stuff. I think that's what it's called. God, I hope I didn't fuck that up. But
or the yips.
I forget what it's called. But he supported her through all that.
Mm-hmm.
So while y'all are calling him a piece of shit, shut the fuck up. You really don't know. You saw a 2-minute clip and start going the fuck off.
Right.
And he's acknowledging she's the best in the world at that point. Like in this podcast. So to me, their meet cute is kind of, you just have to look at the value system of it. I didn't know who she was and she still pulled me and I thought I was the fucking man.
Right. And
that's what he's saying.
And I realized, her light bigger than mine.
Right. And then, and I've seen the way she's been able to be the best, and it's helped me to follow in that suit and be like, okay, these are things I can do to help me be the best. And she understands me as an athlete in a way that another person could not. You know, other types of women that he's dated, he brings up later. He's like, there's other women I've dated, I wouldn't even listen to them about playing football because it's literally so different
From
from what they do that
Right.
it wouldn't have made sense. But he brought up how he was looking at film trying to get better, and she saw the film, and she brought up he was like, the coach says such and such, and she's like, yes, I've noticed that you think too much, you're not going off of instinct, you need to speed up and have more confidence. And she taught him about like imposter syndrome because he went to a therapist and all this stuff. So like these are beautiful stories of a relationship
Right.
with growth and learning and love and
There you go.
trust.
You can't
So-
get in that 2-minute clip.
Right. The underpinnings of this 2-minute clip are the context of their entire relationship, which allows them to tell this story both smiling and giggling at, yeah, he didn't know who I was and I pulled him, and now he knows who I am. And isn't that fun? We'll tell our kids one day, your daddy
Right.
didn't even know I'm the best motherfucker in the world. Ain't that wild?
Ain't that wild, babies?
Yeah, and like it's still love, so like she's supportive of him. Like there was a couple things where like he brought up like how he wants to be like this major star in football and stuff, and she's like, and you gonna do it, baby. She one of these,
Mhm.
and I'm not knocking that. That's just the dynamic of their relationship.
Correct.
So I think
Because I'm that type of person. I'll support you.
also when people look at stuff on the outside, we go by our value system.
Right.
Simone Biles' household name, Jonathan Owens. You got to kind of be in a specific lane to even know who he is, what he does, all that stuff.
Right.
Defensive NFL player. That's a lot of obstacles already for people.
Yeah, most people, if they think about football, it's always
Undrafted.
offense. Yeah.
And undrafted.
Yes.
So helmet, y'all probably don't even know what he looked like. Wouldn't know.
Mhm.
You just go, that's a handsome guy if you saw him in the mall, but you wouldn't know. No.
Right.
So so you got so in our minds, our value system is like, how are you not worshiping her? She's better than you. Well, here's the thing though, low key, maybe some of y'all want this, so let me not say that for everybody, but in general, it's a lot of people in relationships that don't want to be with somebody that thinks they're literally better than them.
Right.
Like I get respecting me, appreciating me, loving me. I don't want you walking around thinking you ain't shit and I'm the one that did that. That's not healthy. And I know people like to promote that as a cliche, and it's like the public thing that, without my wife, she puts up with me and all this shit. And I've never liked that. I don't say that kind of shit. Like, I just want to appreciate my wife on her birthday because she puts up with my nonsense. And it's like, what? Why are you putting her through nonsense?
Right. Why are you putting her through Where's the growth?
So he thinks he's the shit and she thinks he's the shit. And he thinks she's the shit. He just didn't know it at the time when they first got together. But listening to the rest of the interview, he clearly thinks she's the shit, best in the world. And it's a big fucking deal. So I think that's a major part of this that just can't be, you can't just push it aside, Just before the holidays, Biles told people she knows the season can be hectic with so much going on, but this is a reminder to slow down, be present, and take time, and really taking this special time of year. Our lives can get so busy, so I plan on prioritizing self-compassion, daily well-being by getting great sleep, resting when I need to, surrounding myself with people that lift me up, family, friends, and of course, my dogs, she shared.
That's adorable.
Yeah, so like I said, that became like this huge moment, but I didn't see it the same way. And I also will say I do understand people that see it differently.
Mm-hmm.
It's informed by the context of how men can be, how relationships are gone for people.
Yeah, what you've bought into,
Right.
What do you quote unquote think your role as the gender? Men do this, women do this.
Men that have talked down, which is a huge Kevin Samuels, it's a huge economy,
Yes, it is.
ecosystem of men who talk down on women and they run them down constantly, and it's all just the man is the one, the woman ain't shit. And in that small clip, I see how you could run with that because you're filling in the context because you only got 3 minutes to discuss or of discussion to go with. But once you go look at the whole thing, it just seems like it goes away to me, So I think that was a big part of it too. And then Ryan Clark comes out later and he put out something kind of defending the show. Let me see if I can find this clip. But he thinks people are nitpicking what he said. Okay, let me see. Is this it's not playing the clip. Nope. All right, it's fine. I'll read what he said. He said he was telling the story about how he met his wife Simone on our show, and she was also there. He told the story with so much love in their eyes, and every time they looked at each other, you could tell how beautiful it was to them. Listen to him talk about their 2020 conversation while she was at the Olympics, as he's encouraging her that she could be okay when she wasn't. The time he took away with her, even getting married during that time, and now Simone Biles is back to Simone Biles we know. He's talking about when she got the twisties. He says, just because you feel like he should be worshiping the gymnast Simone Biles doesn't mean that he can't respect you. You can't respect that he's in love with the woman Simone Biles. And then they just get into her, sharing that, are y'all done yet? And all that stuff. But yeah, I really think it's that simple. It really is. Like, we have so much reverence for her as an athlete that we're like, how the fuck do you not? He didn't know. And part of that honestly seemed like it was dope to her. And I think with a lot of these celebrity types, it be dope to them just because it's like, finally, a motherfucker that's not already got their opinions about me, a motherfucker that's not just getting with me because they know I'm somebody, a motherfucker that's not just like, I'm a list of accomplishments to them, or, hey man, I fuck Simone Biles, nigga. Like, it was kind of, it was honest and refreshing to me that he wasn't just on some like, yeah, nigga, like, it was kind of like a, hey man, I'm gonna be real, I didn't even know. Like, at least to me, it didn't come off as, I don't know, trying to like denigrate her or bring her down.
Right. And the whole thing is, y'all know she was there, right? She has agency of her own body, and at any period of time, she had her own microphone. She could have interjected, said anything at any period of time.
Yeah. And like, the whole interview isn't even about their relationship. Like, there's probably about 10, 15 minutes total of relationship talk, if any. And most of it's about his journey. And like I said, him as a person was interesting learning about, because he went through a lot of shit to get to where he's at, and to build his confidence. And so, and he suffered from imposter syndrome. I don't think there's anything more imposter syndrome than, man, she's Simone Biles and I ain't shit. I don't even know why we got married. I don't know what she see in me. Why she want to be with me? She could be with anybody. That's how people seem to want him to like say it. But it's like, he may have done work to not feel that way.
Yeah. And I'm gonna tell you right now, it takes work not to feel that way. Because even with us, one period of time, I used to think that about me, and listen to family and things like that. They would even say things to me that would make me doubt myself. What would make somebody as smart, as intelligent, somebody that's going somewhere, want somebody like you? And so that's something that it's a mind fuck. And some people, if you're just a confident ass bitch, good for you. But everybody ain't there, and it takes a while to get there. And now I don't feel that way, but at one period of time I did.
Also, like, I say this all the time about our relationship. We make a lot of jokes and stuff. Not everything for the podcast, just in life. We make a lot of jokes, a lot. And one of the reasons we can make those jokes is because it's underpinned from our real experiences with each other and longevity and history and security, in a way that like, oh, you can say that and I know you don't mean that. It's just funny to you. Or, but if we did not have that, which is other people don't have, it's one of the reasons we don't make the same jokes on the podcast, because y'all are strangers. Y'all don't know our relationship like that. Y'all haven't been here for everything. So something that we could laugh off easily, like ha ha ha, like if this is just an example, but if it was like Karen's like, are you gonna cook dinner? And I'm like, no. And she's like, don't make me beat you. We can laugh about that because neither one of us have ever put our hands on each other, period. I feel safe.
Not
she
in
feels
a non-loving manner, right?
That is not some shit that would happen up in here. So there's 20 something years of that not happening that makes that funny to us.
Correct.
But to you, person that don't know us, that may have had violence issues in your relationship, in your upbringing with your parents, whatever, you may have seen stuff. That shit might not be fucking funny to you.
Right.
Because there's no amount of security you can siphon off of our security to be your security. So to you, it's triggering. And you're like, I think Karen is abusive. She beats him. And there will never be anything Karen can ever say to disprove that. There'll never be anything I can say to be like, man, fuck y'all, man. My wife don't hit me. Y'all, oh, that's what abuse people say. There's literally nothing that can be done because your history is different. If it's hysterical, it's historical. And so I think that's what a lot of this is people have dealt with men who actually belittle them.
Yes.
Not just in this conversation, not as a joke, not as part of the meet cute,
for real,
but
for
they
real.
they do it all the time. They undermine them and all this shit, and so they be walking around like, anytime I get a whiff of it off of anybody, that's who that nigga is. That's what they do, you know. And so I think that's part of it for a lot of folks. But if they're telling us this is not our history, I'm going to accept that because I don't know them until proven otherwise. Why would I? And not to mention a lot of these celebrity Instagram relationship things, whenever the issues do pop up, it don't even be what the fuck people said it was. Like, if people be thinking these motherfuckers the perfect thing, they do a couple photo shoots, they do a magazine cover, and it's all back to like, it's all good. They figured it out. We don't fucking know these people.
No, we do not.
You know, and we don't know what's going on in the house. For everything with Keke Palmer, people did not, for the most part, people did not have whatever is happening in their house happening. Whether it's her talking about getting drunk, putting her hands on him, if that's true, or whether it's him putting his hands on her, and they didn't have that. They had a bunch of other shit like this nigga broke this, that, you just got to get away from him because he ain't got no money and don't nobody know who he is. Like, we don't fucking know what's happening in their house. Maybe it's bad, maybe it's good, but I don't think a 3-minute clip is enough to know. And it's definitely not enough to be fighting with niggas for a week.
Yes, they've been fighting for a whole week, y'all.
It has been a week. People still mad
because there's nothing else to do, Sal.
Yeah,
ain't nothing else happening.
Everybody's off
end
work.
Of the year, right? At the end of the year, people got the last 2 weeks off. They're at home with their kids or spouse. They're bored, you know,
right?
And nothing really on TV.
I also find it funny when the people are like, see, this is what the time they choose to uplift Stedman. They're like, be like Stedman. Stedman's a good man. See, you don't never hear him saying nothing bad about Oprah. Da da da. I'm like, one, their story of getting together is not the same. So I don't even know where you would go with that. But then two, I thought y'all hate Oprah. Make up your fucking mind. Is Oprah?
Oprah not?
Oprah personally went and downgraded Taraji P. Henson's contract and made her be depressed on the press tour and said, "Don't talk to me or stand next to me." Or it's Oprah, super capitalist, gave money to Africa to help them get water, but didn't help Flint, Michigan. Like, it's y'all don't even like Oprah, so why the fuck is she now the great example of the relationship? Right. It's only when you want to knock somebody else down that you even want to give her credit.
Correct.
And I'm not one of these Oprah haters, but y'all know y'all are. Y'all know y'all are. I've seen it. I've seen it with my own eyes.
Me too.
So I thought that was funny too, the Stedman shit. And then also, like, we talk about this a lot, but most people still view, at least in my experience, most people still view relationships in like the power dynamics of like children.
Yes, they do. And you can tell that they have not grown outside of that. Because as you get older, your definition of love changes, it matures, it evolves, and it morphs into something very, very different than it did when you were when you're a child. Your emotions are very intense, and I think a lot of people haven't got past that. That's why a lot of arguments and things like this on relationship love is so intense, because they have not matured and they think something's wrong with you when you're like, oh, that shit ain't that important. Or, oh, you know, when your perspective is not looking at everything from a black and white perspective, understanding that life is gray. Most of life is gray. Understanding that people change and evolve and grow. Understanding that also the thing about all this stuff is that you can love somebody enough to let them go and to walk away and things like that. Like it's a lot to it, and the internet is just not. Most people aren't mature.
I think most people think relationships are about power, and I think that's why they will always kind of end up with the same predicaments over and over and the same problems. Is because most people in our culture, especially with us being taught about, monogamy and lifelong marriage is the only way, through like religious means and stuff like that. Most people will see relationships as power and control and not support.
Yes.
Here's a set of actions and parameters you're allowed to perform in this box. Anything outside of that, you got to go. And one of us is the person that decides what the box is, and the other person is the person that goes in it. And as far as most people are concerned, it's the person who has the most money or is the most famous or the oldest or whatever arbitrary thing they decide is how a relationship should work. That is how most people treat relationships. It's how most of the discussions from relationship experts and stuff talk. It's why Kevin Samuels was so popular, because he tripled down into that.
And they simplify shit.
Yeah.
They make things very, very simple. And the thing is, people treat their mates and significant others like pets. Something I can, pat upside the head, pull out when I want it, and when I don't want it, I can shoosh and tell it to get away. A lot of people, they don't treat their spouse or significant other or whatever their relationship dynamic is as something that needs emotional support, something that needs to be listened to, something, because a lot of times, like you say, with the power dynamic, you know what it is? I'm in power. And what does the person in power? I ain't got to listen to you. You quote unquote, they're going to tell me what to do. I'm the boss. A lot of it is very confrontational.
Also, I mean, like, listen to what happens when we talk about, or you see conversations about people cheating and stuff, and people go, I cheated back. That doesn't mean anything. Because you didn't do shit. Like, what you wanted was a happy relationship, supposedly.
Yeah.
It was already disrupted. There's not an even to it. It is now broken, regardless of who broke it and how it was broken.
Correct.
It is broken. You're not getting the thing you wanted. I guess the cheater's ego might be hurt, but it's not really, it's a childish thing, because we still think of these things as childlike things, like balancing the scales or something that is not really scales. It's all arbitrary things we made up. It's why people don't understand open relationships, polyamorous relationships. Because it's like, but then how do you control the person? How do you, and not that those rules don't have rules and parameters there, but just so much of how we view things are like, if it's not in this box, it can't work. And so the idea that a Olympic gold medalist, best gymnast of all time person will be secure enough to go, I did pull him. Yeah. I think he's a bad bitch. And I said, I'm going to get him. And I did. And no one can see it from her perspective, because we're too busy doing but the power dynamics mean that he should be the one, like, I'm lucky to be with you. Yeah, well, I didn't want a guy that felt like that.
Right. And
I want him to appreciate me and respect me, but I don't, the way you feel about me, I don't want to be with you. Like, I don't want to stand. You know what I mean? I don't need that. Some people need that.
Yeah, and
she don't seem to need that. And not at this age. Maybe she'll grow and change. Maybe their relationship will change. Maybe one day this won't be enough. Things happen. They're young. But right now, the way they seem to be talking about this is we're happy and we love our story. So I don't know why the fuck everyone else is trying to take that 3 minutes, because you didn't go listen to the whole thing.
Of course not.
And destroy these motherfuckers. This is crazy to me.
Yeah, and it's wild and it doesn't make sense. But like you say, it's a lot of projecting. It's a lot of gender standards, particularly straight people, gender standards people putting on here.
Yeah.
It's a lot of hurt, a lot of pain, a lot of
me search.
Yes, a lot of me search
versus research.
Right. Like you and a lot of times too, a lot of these things that happen, a lot of reason why the gender war stuff gets trending and goes so far is because for some people they've been in scenarios and situations and they've been with ain't shit people before, and all of a sudden that one person represents everybody and everyone, and that's
Right.
not always a true statement.
And the other thing I'll say before we start wrapping up is a lot of people don't know what support looks like. Support sometimes is helping somebody achieve those dreams that get them outside of that box, that just you're not just a stay-at-home husband to her, or the person that makes sure she's okay for the Olympics. Like, she wants to be there to help him become the best athlete possible in the NFL field. They're both in jobs where injuries are common. They're gonna help each other literally in sickness and health. Like, this man will get injured at some point. They will be together during that and have to figure that shit out together. When I listened to the whole thing, hearing the amount of like mutual respect there, and especially as athletes that he had for her, I was like, oh, I get it. And like I said, the fact that they live where he plays football, and people still stop and ask for pictures with her more than him. And one of the things he said that I thought was so dope was he learned how to be gracious about people like loving you in public the way they love Simone, because he hadn't experienced that.
Right.
Remember, he wasn't quote unquote nobody to a lot of people yet. He hadn't made his name yet. Even locally on the team, he hadn't made his name. So when they're dating and people are coming up to them during meals and being like, can I get a picture? He was looking at it like disrespect. Like, what the fuck? Like, we're eating. It don't matter that she's Simone Biles. Respect her as a human being. And she would be like, yeah, you can have a picture. No problem, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, yeah, she taught me how to like let that shit go. And that is, to be grateful for it, because this is like part of the experience of what we're doing.
Right.
So like I said, the idea that he just is, now look, maybe I'm wrong, and the people that are taking it the worst way are right. And he's harboring a grudge,
will tell.
an amazing level of disrespect. He's the most slick talking his ass, like pretend to love her, but really he's been lying the whole time. He knew who she was. But I just feel like to get to that point, you had to have been on the internet arguing so much,
yes,
that you can only accept one way.
Right, and no other way.
You got to be right. Everyone got to be wrong, including Simone Biles and him.
Right, but you quote unquote doing this for her, okay?
Yeah, so I definitely get it. It's definitely triggering when men talk in certain phrases and say certain shit. I get it. We've seen men downplay women. Normally not, like, to me, that's another reason I think it wasn't meant to downplay her, that because normally niggas don't do that shit to they woman face in front of everybody. Like, also, like, I don't know, maybe he's some Ike Turner ass diabolical nigga, but it just didn't feel like
right,
he was like,
I said,
finally my chance.
Only time will tell.
Yeah, and like I said, I unlike a lot of motherfuckers, I'm open to being wrong.
Correct.
Like, I'm open to, like, okay, a few years from now, she comes out and goes, actually, he was a piece of shit. And I go, oh, I guess y'all was right. He's a piece of shit. I'm just saying, I didn't get it from that. And their responses seem to be that of people who are like, that's not what happened.
Right.
So that's really all I wanted to talk about, because I thought I could give a different perspective on it than what you're going to get probably 99% of places.
Mm-hmm.
And also I didn't want to do the like, and I hope we haven't done an hour of like, y'all niggas is miserable, you piece of shit. You not happy, so they can't be happy. I didn't say none of that. So don't write up here acting like we said that, because I've seen people going back and forth saying shit like that.
Right.
I think it's totally reasonable and logical to have been triggered by what you saw,
right,
and maybe through a lot of arguing or whatever, a lot of back and forth, ended up in a place where you're so extreme to the like, this is a terrible man. I think I can see how it happened. I'm not saying I agree with it or that I would like to go down that path, but I can see how that happened. But we have not got on here and disrespected anybody, regardless of their opinion is about this shit.
Right.
So do not write up here, projecting on to us
Some shit we
some
did
shit
not
we did not say. Because I've
Please
seen you
don't.
do it for a week now. Seem like a week is long enough. It can die down a bit. Me and Karen can get on here and talk about it without everybody losing their fucking mind. The chat room seems very reasonable.
Right?
Everybody, everybody seemed cool. So let's just keep it cool, everybody. Okay. We may or may not do a feedback show this week. We'll see. But just keep it logical and keep it germane to the topics that were discussed here.
Right.
We not bringing up no extra shit.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
And it, like I said, and it's one of those things when you start talking about relationships and all this stuff, like you say, people have their own internal insecurities and they hear what they want to hear regardless of what you say.
Yeah, like I said, I had somebody that I'm, as far as I know, pretty cool with. Like, we always get along on social. And all I asked was, how old would he have been during those tweets? Because it seemed like he would have been like a teenager. And it was immediate, like, this is what y'all always reaching to describe. And then I was like, hey, I'm not in this.
Right. You could tell.
So, like,
you've been arguing all day.
That's the tenor of the conversation.
Yes.
That is, quote unquote, conversation that's happening on Twitter and Facebook and all these places. I'm not even interested in that conversation.
No, because the conversations like that are fruitless. Conversations like that are pointless.
Yeah. I don't know y'all and you don't know me and I don't know these people nearly enough to be confident in calling you out. Like, I didn't say, because I could have been out there, y'all miserable, I didn't say that because I don't necessarily believe that. I think what happens I've been feeling this way a lot lately, but a lot of times I can kind of see where people are coming from because so much of the context is just driven from our own experiences.
Yes.
Like this, we wasn't planning on talking about this, but with the Taraji P. Henson Oprah thing, I don't know how many people are up on this, but Taraji P. Henson she went super viral. She's done several interviews during the press tour for The Color Purple, because The Color Purple is coming out. So they take all the actors and they all do press tour. Shout out to y'all that don't know, it's based on the musical play The Color Purple, based on the book The Color Purple, that's been getting mad that there's music in it and getting mad that Suge kissed Celie.
I was like, did y'all see the original movie?
Well, yeah, they mad for some reason.
Yeah, and you have a whole generation that was not born, and they like, the fuck is this?
And it's not based on the movie,
right?
So it's like they got different
experiences, right?
My point being, Taraji P. Henson was doing these interviews. Now, Taraji P. Henson has been very open. I believe she even held a con at one point about mental health. She's talked about her struggles with depression. Okay. So she was doing these on this circuit and she brought up in multiple interviews how she has been underpaid since she did Proud Mary.
And that's been a hot
Proud Mary was the last time.
And me and Roger went to the theaters to see that.
Proud Mary was the last time she said her rate went up. Meaning that was 2018. It is now 7 years after that, right? No, 5 years after that. She has not had an increase in her rate. Now you go look at her IMDb. That woman works. She
stays working.
Starred in several films, everything, but she been making the same thing since 2018. And who knows when she got an increase before that. Mm-hmm. She had a team. She had to let the team go after Empire. Because as much as Empire was a huge boon for her, the money and nothing changed for her. And so they didn't capitalize. Her team didn't capitalize off of her success on Empire, the award nods and all that stuff. So she's like, y'all have to go. She had to get a whole new team.
Right, because y'all whole job is to be out here grinding on my behalf, right?
She also talked about her money and how you see the money headline, the money, whatever Forbes tells you somebody's net worth is and shit. And she's like, but I got to split that with so many people in my team. And because of the pressures, especially on Black women in that game, Taraji can't never be not on point.
Right.
Taraji can't go on IG Live with no makeup, no hair, no dress, no wardrobe, and all that. Y'all wouldn't accept it. Y'all would clown the fuck out of her. So she now has to be on point all the time. That's money, 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 money. Agents, all that, lawyers, all this stuff. So she's going into the economics of it, right? Then an out of context clip of the cast of The Color Purple taking a photo, I believe, on top of the Empire State Building. It was like they were all just lining up to take a photo, but someone was taking a video of them lining up to take the photo.
Okay, so they was giving take a photo, right?
Yeah. So first, Oprah stands next to Taraji, who people are saying like she looked, sad and all this stuff. I'm not getting into that part. Whatever, it's look cold out there too. But
yeah, you would look grumpy cold too.
But Oprah was stood next to her, kind of in the center of the picture. But then as Fantasia, all these other people start coming into the picture, Oprah removes herself from the center and puts herself on the end of it. People immediately said that's because Taraji is mad at Oprah because Oprah didn't pay her enough for this film. And it is Oprah herself that didn't do it, not the production company, not the studio. If there's even just, she should have known Taraji wouldn't be happy with the money and stepped in regardless of Taraji crying in interviews and this being how we found out. Somehow Oprah should have preternaturally just had black girl magic sense, known this woman wasn't feeling like she was being paid enough since Proud Mary, she's not crying about this film, since Proud Mary. I think she's having a moment, or what it seemed to me was from her expressions in the interview, I'm at the precipice of like an Oscar, possibly.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm underpaid. And I don't feel right without telling people about this struggle. That to me, and like I said, that's the most charitable way out. Cynically, you could be like, this is part of the promotion for her. It's how you get an Oscar. Because this will make headlines of like, look at this, because narratives help with Oscars. Look at this poor downtrodden black woman that's put in all this work and she don't get the same love that the white actresses do. Maybe it's time for her to get an Oscar. This is her movie where she gets an Oscar, right? I'm not saying I believe that, but I'm just trying to cover all the bases, right? The other one I heard was this could just be her way of putting pressure on Hollywood and Oprah to pay her more money, right? Well, anyway, and like I said, I don't believe that's what happened. I think a lot of stuff is happening at the same time and she's going through it. So Twitter starts immediately going in on Oprah because that's what the fuck niggas love to do. They live to tell you Oprah ain't shit.
Yeah, they do.
Fuck her story. Fuck her. She's not generational wealth. She's coming from all the shit, all the trauma that rappers come from. She came from too. But she's supposed to be perfect because she's a black woman and she made a lot of money. So she need to be better than every other black woman, period, and every other person, period. I always felt like the double standard on Oprah was kind of weird and whack, but it is what it is. People think that holding black people that make a lot of money to the same standards they would hold a white person to is progress. I'm from the South, so I don't believe that.
Me either.
But I think it's funny because Taraji P. Henson was basically forced to go on Twitter. Not forced, but she went on Twitter. She chose to go on Twitter to tell everybody Oprah's been nothing but the fucking best. She's been the best to everybody, actress, everybody who works on it. She's been gracious towards. And she said, all I had to do was make one phone call from Oprah and my problems were solved. So I don't know if it was a check. I don't know if it was what. I don't know what happened. But she had to come out and tell people this ain't about Oprah. But my thing is, if you listen to what she was saying the whole time, it was never about Oprah.
Oh, no.
She's talking about an industry.
Yes, a systemic problem.
You know what Oprah and her Harpo Productions are? The exception.
Yes.
They're the exception. They're the one place where a black woman has enough power and is in a position to hear your sob stories of fellow black woman and be like, whoa, we need to take care of her. When she was doing that movie with Brad Pitt, they didn't give a fuck. And they never will. So, like, it's that double-edged black shit where, like, Oprah catches hell for being black in this industry and doing the thing and having the compassion that white people don't have, but it's never enough because it can't fix the whole industry.
Right.
She hadn't had a raise since 2018. Now it's down to singularly Oprah's fault. We let every white production company she worked for off the goddamn chain immediately. No, that's just how that's supposed to be. But a black woman should have took care of you. And then when she did, we go, I don't believe it. Because I saw that too. She put out the Instagram and immediately people like, yeah, I don't believe it. What? So then same thing with the Jonathan Owens thing. You're being informed by a bunch of other shit. Mm-hmm. It doesn't really matter what the truth is.
No.
You have your own truth. It's the me search truth, which is Oprah ain't shit. She never gonna be shit. And anything bad about her, I'll believe. Anything good about her, I won't believe. And the only thing good about her is Stedman doesn't do interviews. That's it. Like that's what we're supposed to do, But yeah, it was funny because like someone brought up in chat, the body language experts jumped out and all this shit. It's just the amount of projection that is just happening. It's just it's so astounding and sad.
Yeah, because it's something that we all have within ourselves, but sometimes you have to check yourself and be like, hey, what is causing this? Is there something triggering me? I need to address it. But that's when you get to that deeper thinking, and like you say, thinking outside of a very binary childlike view of emotions and love and just interacting with shit. And for a lot of people, we said this before, a lot of people, particularly if you spend a lot of extensive period of time on social media, something that I found out, and it might not be true for everybody, most people to do that, it's a distraction from something. If you're spending this much time arguing with people across, and a lot of these people, they argue with people on TikTok, Instagram. They don't argue a lot of times on one site. They go across all of the sites. They fucking on YouTube, like they're everywhere, consistently drowning themselves in this, baby. You're distracting yourself from something that you need to address.
I think like I said, I think we kind of discussed the things I want to talk about, but take a breath.
Mm-hmm. Think about it, take a break.
It's okay.
It's okay not to be online all the time. It's okay not to be quote unquote on all the time.
I think, like I said, if people still arrive to those conclusions, that's on them. I'm not trying to argue with them, just giving our perspective on them. But
right.
I think it says something about how much this environment lends itself to those conclusions and how much people run with them. And how much proof doesn't matter. Truth doesn't matter. Somebody else telling you, this is not what I meant. This is not what I said. This is not what happened. It doesn't matter. Their reality doesn't matter because our reality has become our own currency. And we'd rather have that than let people have some level of truth,
Yes.
And it's not that no one's ever lying. No one's ever getting over. Sometimes people are.
That's a part of life.
It happens, Right. I'm sure there's people that I'm like, oh, that motherfucker probably lying. I'm sure, TJ and Amy, I'll be like, them niggas is definitely lying. So I'm not saying it on some I can't relate shit. I just think in this case, we don't really have as much to go on as other cases, So, I hope y'all enjoyed this. Is a weird kind of episode of just talking, and I told you it wouldn't be too long, although we did go 1:20, so that's good luck. That's a good amount of time. So yeah, we'll talk to y'all later on. Until then, I love you.
I love you too.
Mwah. Bye, everybody. Peace.